So as usual, I will start with invocation. The purpose is that we ourselves can come closer to the presence of God, and that other spiritual entities are invited to join us so that we can be inspired. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to gather together, to draw together, to form a vessel to catch the dew of heaven. If it be thy will, may the veil of heaven be drawn back, and may your Ruach HaKodesh descend upon us, that we may know your presence. Lord, from thee comes all love. Lord, from thee comes all light. Lord, from thee comes all grace. So be it. Amen. So today is our last lecture, and you may know that the last book of Torah is Deuteronomy, right? Deuteronomy. And it is called the repetition, like second Torah, but I believe it's really a summary. Moses is just giving summary of 3 earlier books of Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. So I also will try today do something similar to make summary what we have talked about, basic points, what was the teaching, what was the purpose. But before I go to that, I want to spend some time on Torah, on importance to study Torah and how to study Torah. You see, in Zohar, it is written many times that Torah and God are one. It means that God and His teaching as expressed in Torah are one. But it never says that 613 commandments and God are one. So there is a difference between Torah and 613 commandments. You probably can guess what is the difference, right? Torah is supposed to be word of God, transmitted in his inspiration to Moses, who put it in writing and in oral transmission. On the other hand, what is 613 commandments? It is something which rabbis agreed among themselves and approved by democratic votes about members of Sanhedrin or similar assembly of rabbis. As far as Torah is concerned, let me just roughly reproduce what Zohar says about Torah. According to Zohar, Torah has 4 parts. There is garment of Torah, outer dress. There is body of Torah, that which is hidden behind the garment, beyond the garment. And then there is a soul of Torah, which is really spiritual, inner, deep meaning. And then there is a soul of souls. So Torah has 4 parts. And of course, Zohar said, the fool, he sees only the stories. He sees only the garment of Torah. And he thinks that is Torah. and he looks only on the garment. The man who is a little bit wiser, he looks deeper under the garment, he looks at the body of Torah, and Zohar said, these are mitzvot. So mitzvot, 313 mitzvot as assembled by rabbis. These are body of the Torah, which is that which is hidden just under the garment, just under the stories. And then Zohar said, and he who is really wise, he looks deeper and he finds the soul of Torah. And he said, for our time, for us, that is really what Torah is. You have to look below the garment, and you have to look beyond body of Torah to find the meaning of Torah. And meaning of Torah is not something which is chiseled in a rock. Meaning of Torah for people 2,000 years ago was different than is meaning of Torah to us today. Stories are the same, right? Mitzvot are also the same, but if you go deep into spirit of Torah, into the soul of Torah, that something is what is changing. It is changing with time, and it is also different for each person. And Zohar said, when Messiah comes, Messianic age, when it comes, then we will learn soul of the Torah. So that's roughly what Zohar says about Torah. Now, if you take Torah and read something, you know that you cannot read it as newspaper or as some novel, that it is completely different. To really read Torah, you have come closer to the presence of God. Otherwise, you cannot learn the inner meaning of Torah. Torah is word of God for us. And rabbis say, and you can check on it, that it is easier to come to the presence of God if you do it at night, when everybody else is sleeping, where you will not be disturbed, and where your mind is really quiet, not disturbed by all these things which you have to do during daytime. If you try it few times, I believe you will find difference between studying Torah at night and studying Torah during the day. Because what you read in Torah, what you get out, does not depend so much what is written, it depends on you. How deeply you can concentrate on divine and how close you can come to the Spirit of God at that time. And this reveals to you new things. Rabbis say that each person has a specific, definite part of Torah. They say if you study really with full concentration Torah, you will discover things which nobody saw before. You will make some completely new discovery. And it is due to the fact that each of us is designed for specific part of Torah. So nobody can duplicate what you discover in Torah if you really do it properly. Of course, if you read Torah just during the day and meantime you have to watch TV and take care for kids, etc., it does not work. But if you do it in silence and if you make an effort before you start, either you meditate for a short period of time or you say a short prayer to make yourself accessible to these thoughts. And here I want to add that also if you study writing from some mystical rabbis of the past, it is similar thing. If you study it at night, then the soul of that rabbi is awakened wherever it is, and he joins you and helps you to fully understand what this mystic is writing in that essay which you are reading. And again, what is important is to prepare yourself. You cannot just jump from daily life, sit down, and now I say I will study something. It does not work like that. These are not ordinary things which are taught at the university in some course, right? This is something which you have discovered. And if you do it with mystical writers of the past, somehow your soul gets in tune with their soul, regardless when they are, and they help you understand what it is about and what is a deep meaning. You know that words are very imperfect. And if you read just words, it is not enough. Really, you get highly inspired and new insight if you prepare yourself. And then when the soul of the writer, whether it is God or whether it's some mystical rabbi of the past, will be with you, and you will discover new treasures in Torah as well as in writing of old mystical rabbis. Now, there are probably hundreds of books on Kabbalah today. Most of those is just writing like writing a novel, because they write something which they heard from somebody else, and you find description basically that we have 4 worlds and parts of the soul, etc. in all of those books. They are basic facts, but they don't convey to you the mystical essence of Kabbalah. For that, again, you have to go to mystical writers of the past. Who are mystical writers? Probably you find yourself what resonates with your soul. That will be proper for you. It may not be proper for somebody else, but it will be just right for you. Okay. So that's one thing I wanted to say. And concerning study of Torah, one more thing. As you know, Torah was written, and what we have is written in Hebrew. And usually we read just English text. And you probably know that each word in Hebrew has at least on average 10 different meanings. So if you read translation, you read somebody's interpretation of what he wrote, and even more, it usually has to be agreed by some committee in charge of that translation. So I would say even little knowledge of Hebrew is very helpful. You see, in Torah, there are not too many words, really. Basic verbs, actions, you probably need to know like 250 words, and you can reasonably well to read what is in Hebrew. And if you manage to learn 500 words, you will be very fine. You will need occasionally, of course, dictionary, and occasionally you will need to find grammatical rules, etc. But it is not really tremendous effort to learn a little of Hebrew. And I would say even a little of Hebrew is very helpful. Not only that you can translate it yourself, but it will become for you completely new game, completely new game. Because you will know, that the very time we read in recent rabbis writing, what is important, you have to develop fear and love of God. Right? Fear and love of God. And very often, fear and love are two opposites to each other. If you fear something, it is just opposite to the love. Not the hate would be hate is part of that fear, but really even fear is opposite to love. So it is difficult to understand why you should be fear and why you should have love for God. For your parents, did you have a love for them? Yes. Did you have a fear for them? I hope not. And if you look in dictionary, you find that in Hebrew word is yara, to fear. And you will find that the same word means either fear or awe, high respect. So it is much better to know that you have to develop high respect and love for God. Not fear, really. Fear may be suitable for people a couple of thousand years ago, maybe even for some people today, right? Telling them, if you commit this and this sin, if you are a robber, if you commit robbery, you will go to hell, you will be punished. They may be fear, but I don't believe that it applies to any of us who are here today and who eventually will watch our tape, etc. So, awe of God, high respect of God, and love. Many people say, I don't feel great love for God. Maybe some of you don't feel great love for God. So they ask how we can develop great love for God. I found there are basically two answers suggested by a rabbi. One, which I like better than the other, is you develop love proportional to how much you remove from yourself selfish tendency. If you remove your anger, if you remove your desire for physical things, if you remove your desire to be recognized for your own greatness, etc. If you remove all these so-called selfish things, even if some of them are necessary for us to survive, but more than what is necessary becomes selfish. If you remove these selfish things, one after another, as you are removing them, putting them down, your love will automatically grow. In Jewish tradition, removing this negative feature is called musar. That's kind of field, basically, which prescribe people what to do or suggest people what to do, how remove your greed, your grabbing, your jealousy, your envy, etc. And it is not the most important part, but it is very helpful. And I agree that removing this, your love will grow. Also, in prayers and in Torah, we find instruction, Ve'ahavta Adonai Elohecha, V'chol levavcha, V'chol nefshcha, V'chol meodecha. You will love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And you may ask yourself, how do I know that I love God? Because this is very abstract. What is God? You don't know what is God. Many rabbis explain you what is God, but I believe it is much more honest to say, I don't know really what is God. But so how do I discover that I love the God? And Kabbalah suggests, Ve'ahavta re'acha kamocha. You will love your neighbor as yourself. And that's the way how you discover whether you love God or not. If you don't love your neighbor, you are just talking about loving God. You are just speaking about loving God. But really, you don't have the love. You are not in a state of love. And if you develop this love of God and love of your neighbor, automatically all other things from your life, negative things, and disaster in your personal life, everything will disappear. And everything will look as manageable. Sometimes in the life we come in difficult situation which we believe it's hard to survive, right? I don't know, maybe some of you were in that situation. If you love God, if you trust God, you will manage any situation you will be in without getting really hard. Okay, I believe it was concerning the story. No, let me still do things. One more thing. I was very lucky that for some reason I started to study Hebrew about 10 years ago. Long time before I started even for first time to read Torah. By circumstances, I was invited to join us in Hebrew class, and I just joined them, and I started to learn Hebrew, I would say 3 years before I really for first time started to read Torah. And really to read Torah systematically, all 5 books. First time I started here at Beit Tikva about 4 years ago. So now I am finishing reading Torah for the 4th time. I read it each year completely, word by word. And let me tell you that right now, 4th time, I start liking Torah much more than it initially did. Because suddenly now I see many more things which before I did not see. So I would say, more I study Torah, more I love it. Because it reveals many different secrets. And I will show you as example. Last week, the Parsha for last week was, what the name of Parsha was? Et Hanan, right. I will implore God, or I will beg God, or I will ask God for mercy, etc. That's the meaning of this verb Hanan in Hebrew. It has, again, few different meanings. And when I read it in Torah, and then I read one of the commentary, which I read, it was Rashi. You may know that Rashi wrote the first full commentary on Torah, probably written sometimes in 11th century. But the Rashi commentary is very often cited today by a rabbi almost each week as an example of expertise on understanding Torah. Of course, we have to see what time and what situation Rashi lived, right? All Jews were in exile now, 1,000 years almost. He was living in France, etc. So his task was explain Torah to people at the literary level, on the level of garment, on the level of stories. So when I read this parsha for the last week, I designated for myself about 12 important spiritual instruction in that. 12. Now when I read Rashi, I found 2 of those 12 he explained in acceptable way, I would say. 2 he explained completely incorrectly, according to my understanding. And 8 of those he completely neglected, just jump over. At some places he explained everything word by word. But when I came to important spiritual teaching, he even did not mention it. He just jumped over. So it may be that he understood spiritual meaning, but was hesitant to put it in his explanation on pedestrian level. So we just skip over it. So let me get my notes of those things which I found interesting in that parsha. First of all, this is important parsha on all levels, including literal level. Why? There are 2 very essential things. One is 10 commandments are repeated by Moses in that parsha. You may know that 10 commandments are given in Exodus, I believe in chapter 20, but here in this parsha Moses repeats 10 commandments. And second is, you know, part of the prayer, Shema Israel, right? Listen, Israel, Adonai Elohecha, Adonai our God, Adonai Echad, God is one. So this is stated in this parsha. But in this parsha, you know, Shema Israel, that's how this prayer is usually, this part of prayer usually is referred to. Shema Israel. In this parsha, Shema Israel is repeated 3 times. Not once, 3 times. And it says, Shema Israel, which means listen Israel, what I teach you to learn and to perform that you may live. So we see, Shema Israel, listen to my teaching that you may do them and then you may live. That's first Shema. Second Shema is Shema Israel. Listen Israel to decrees and ordinances that I speak to your ears today. So again, listen to my decrees and my ordinances. They are speak to you today. And only third Shema is Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Listen, Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. So if you look in three Shemas together, you figure out that what is very important, what he repeated twice, listen to my teaching and do them, and then you may live. That's important what we should do. On the other hand, what is emphasized in prayer is only Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Which does not induce you too many things clearly what you should do. I think first two Shemas are more important because it tells you, listen what I have taught you, do it and you will live. I think that's something which we have all to do. This Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad is very nice, but it is kind philosophical, kind abstract, which does not tell you what you should do today in what situation. So that's one thing which I have learned from this parsha. Now, second is even more surprising to me. Parsha said, after teaching of Moses, it says, you shall not add and you shall not subtract from it. That's for me amazing, right? He said, I gave you 10 commandments here, and you shall not add and you shall not subtract. Now, if you look into 613 mitzvot, which Rabbi deduced from Torah, how you can say from 10 commandments you don't add anything? You add so many useless things. I read first time 613 mitzvot about 3 months ago. First time in my life. And I realized several hundred of those for me are useless. I don't fulfill them, and many of them don't apply to me at all. And many of them has very little, if anything, to do with Torah. So I believe you shall not add. And you know, Moses said clearly, you shall not add. And among 613 commandments, you don't find at all, you shall not add. He tells you, you shall not add. It's clear command, very clearly stated. And it is not part of mitzvah. Why not? I believe because Rabbi knew that they violated this commandment by adding so many things, commanding Jews what to do each minute of their life. Second is, you shall not subtract. Again, did Rabbi subtracted something from 10 Commandments? I have to say yes, they did. What they subtracted, for example, you know, in the same chapter which I am talking about, God mentioned to Moses, you will establish three refuge cities. Refuge cities for those who killed unintentionally someone, that nobody can make revenge on them. So those people can run to refugee city and live there peacefully without being afraid that somebody will kill them in real life. And this, for people who kill somebody, what verb used is ratzach. Resh tzadi chet in Hebrew. Ratzach. It is used for city, for ratzach, and somebody who commit ratzach. So clearly from this, that it is connected to refugee city, is clearly that commandment, lo ratzach, lo tertzach, means you shall not kill. Because it is same verb which is used for establishment of refugee city. Ratzach. Ratzach is clearly kill. And why it is presented in the same chapter as Ten Commandments? Because God explained clearly what he means by ratzach. Lo means not, and tertzach means you will. So you will not kill. Some rabbi agree that it means you shall not kill. For example, Isaac Luria, who lived in 16th century in Safed and was leader of Kabbalistic group for some time in Safed. He said, you shall not kill, not even an insect found in your house. And he repeated twice in his book, Sha'ar HaGelgulim, which is Gate of Reincarnation. That's the name of the book. When he says, you shall not kill even an insect. Now, I said rabbi subtract something, of course, because how would the rabbi claim it means lo tartzach means you should not murder. And they justify that killing can be justified like in war, etc. So they subtract. From you shall not kill, they subtract everything except intentional murder. So again, I feel it is violation of this, what is stated, you shall not add to my commandments, and you shall not subtract. This is an example of subtracting. Instead, you shall not kill, they said, you shall not murder, which automatically limits this taking life to humans only, and only if it is intentional, if somebody plans to kill somebody. Okay. And then I found God said, only beware of yourself. Beware, be mindful of yourself, be careful of yourself, watch yourself. That is meaning, I understand, of English, beware. And God repeats it 4 times. Beware for yourself. Beware of your soul. Beware of your soul. Beware of yourself. 4 times, he said. Again, that's something which is completely neglected, at least by Rashi and few commentators of Torah. So, and it is after he said, you shall not add and you shall not subtract from my 10 commandments. And then he said, beware of your soul, beware of yourself. He's saying, be careful with yourself. Why? Because he gave us intellect and we are able to justify anything which we want to do as commandments of God. So we say, be aware of your intellect. Don't let your intellect to deceive you. And I believe that what happened at that time. So God foresee that people will try bypass His commandments, at least some of them. And so He's saying, beware of yourself, be aware of your soul. Be careful not to do it. Next one is, you remember, fourth commandment. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? The fourth commandment is what? You shall keep Shabbat, right? But commandment is not only you shall keep Shabbat. Commandment, as it is written, is 6 days you shall work, and 7 days is Shabbat for Hashem your God. So again, in our usual transmission what commandments are, we lost the first part. For 6 days you shall work, and 7 days will be Shabbat for God. And again, in 613 mitzvot, nowhere you will find for 6 days you will work. Only commandment is you shall keep Shabbat and not work on that day. So, there's again difference, I believe, important for us, that we have to work to make living, right? To justify our existence. We have to work and earn our living. But we should not be greedy that we earn money all 7 days a week, day after day. It would be greedy. So at least after 6 days, we should take 1 week, 1 day rest from earning money. Whatever we do as our job, as our profession, for 6 days, we are advised to abstain from it. Not abstain from the work does not mean to sleep all day or to sit all day in couch and watch TV. Right? It is not Shabbat. Shabbat is for you to give you time, to free yourself, to forget completely all your worries about Monday day and concentrate your all intentions on God, on divine service, on learning, on study, or meditation, or praying, etc. So you are supposed to take day off. He said, 7 days will be Shabbat, day of Hashem, day of God, not day of our just resting physically. Resting physically is of course important, but it is not essence of Shabbat. Essence of Shabbat is spent intensely that day, trying to come close to God. Another sentence which comes in this portion is, God said to Moses, say to them, return to your tents, but as for you, you stay with me, that I will speak to you. So it's not clear what is meaning here. It's probably difficult to get it, but Rabbi writes, return to your tents means asking people to go back to your tents, to your wife, and have a sex with your wife. No problem. But he's saying to Moses, not you. You stay here with me, that I can talk to you whenever I want to. So according to Zohar, this sentence means that God is instructing Moses, you stay away from all sexual encounters and you stay with me that I can talk to you whenever I want. You may know that before Torah is revealed to Jewish people, God instructed Moses, tell men at least for 3 days you stay away from your wife. Before Torah is given. And only after they do it, God releases Torah to them. So it shows that some abstinence is necessary to receive some divine message. And it is amplified by this sentence when Moses is instructed to tell people, return to your tents. But for you, Moses, you stay with me, living in abstinence. You may know that Moses had a kind of dispute with his sister Miriam and his brother Aaron. They were gossiping among themselves. Basically, what happened, they were gossiping why Moses keep himself away from sexual intercourse, why he keep themselves away from his wife. And they are saying, we are also prophets. God talks to us also, and we are not instructed to stay away from sex. Why Moses is separating himself from sex? Does he think that he is more than we are? That's what Miriam and Aaron are saying. And because of that, God punishes Miriam. He gets leprosy, you remember. Her arms and body become white, etc. And Aaron goes to Moses and asks Moses, please intercede with God and let that Miriam be healed. So Moses does it and she is healed. But the point is that they gossip about this, why Moses is living in abstinence, and Zohar explains that Moses does it because God asked him to do it in this one sentence. And I believe the last one is there, that in the same Parsha, God says that transgressions of fathers will be carried to the third and fourth. Transgressions of fathers will be carried to the third and fourth
generation.
Torah does not say anything what it is, just to third and fourth. Of course, for rabbi, in translation, in interpretation, it does not make sense. So they say it will be carried to the third and fourth generation. That's the rabbi's translation. It is not in Hebrew in Torah. Torah said will be carried to the third and fourth. And on the other hand, Torah said good deeds will be carried to thousands. Again, does not say generation. It said will be carried to thousands. So, as you suggested generation, but Isaac Luria, again, 16th century Safed, suggested that God is talking about reincarnation. He is saying that transgressions will be carried to the third and fourth, which means if you are living in continuous transgression, after you were born in this life, you go down and down to lower and lower state, become more and more violent, more evil possessed, etc. Then you have just 3 or 4 reincarnations, no more. But if you do good deeds, if you are born and you go up and up, become better and better, purifying your soul, then you have up to thousands. It does not say 1,000, up to thousands of reincarnation available to improve yourself step by step. You had a question?
Yeah. What if he was saying it would be carried to the third or the fourth? Be carried to the third or the fourth, and he was somehow implying that it would take 3 or 4 reincarnations for you to weed away all the transgressive impulses so that you would then go to another lifetime where you would be freer and open to...
Not exactly. What Arizal, Isaac Luria says is that after 3 or 4 incarnations, when you show no sign of improvement, you go to worse and worse level. After that, you incarnate in lower level than human. You incarnate into animal. Like Jimmy here is, right? He said you incarnate as an animal. I love dogs very much. I treat them like a god, really hoping that if I end up in their place and they're in mine, they will treat me equally. So he said, you incarnate in animal body, but you keep consciousness of human. And your punishment or your learning lesson is you are unable to express yourself as a human. You are unable to express. But you have your human awareness, what is happening, who treats you how, what they do to you, etc. All that. But you learn what you missed in the past, right? Your dog, does ever your dog get angry on you? No, he doesn't. You learn dog waiting by the door for an hour or 2 hours, right? Outside. You don't open the door. And then after 2 hours you open the door that he can come in. What he does? He's extremely happy. Okay? Now, with your wife or your husband, you will see what will happen to you.
Next time.
So that example, what you will learn, what people learn if they are in animal incarnation. They learn to correct that, what was their bad habit in the past, and they were unable to free themselves. So Arizal say, you stay in this animal incarnation, he does not say for how long, maybe just one, and come back as a human. But now you have learned some lessons. And then you get human incarnation, and you have chance up to 1,000 incarnations to improve yourself, to purify your soul and go to higher and higher level. Another important thing which is stated in this parsha is God is close to you whenever you call to Him. And that's again, at least Rashi does not pick up at all. He just jumps over this sentence, pretending it does not exist. But it is extremely important. God is close to you whenever you call on Him. Okay? This keeps basically connection between you and God open forever. Everything depends on your intention. If you really want to hear the God, you just make your presence known to Him, not by many words, but by your concentration, by your meditation and your own prayer with your own words. You see, some people ask me, I believe, a year ago, why I don't teach anything about prayer. Okay? I don't, because prayer is extremely difficult. And I myself don't believe in prescribed prayers when you just read it, or Orthodox rabbi, they mumble it because they know it everything by heart. They already repeated it 1,000 times in their life, etc. I don't believe in effectiveness of prayer like that. Prayer has to be from your heart. Intention should be really crying to God for something, and it cannot be just repeated words which you learn and repeat day by day. So, because of that, it is very difficult for me to say anything about prayer, except that it is very difficult, and each one has to find his own work, really to pray in such a way that God will hear it, that God will respond to it. Yes?
Is it possible that one can love a certain prayer very much, so that when they say it, it's not a blank repetition?
Sure.
It speaks very deeply to you,
Sure.
and then it's meaningful.
Sure.
Even if it's prescribed.
It is very good. Like Christian, they pray, Our Father in heaven, etc. If you say it with your heart and feel each word, it's valuable. In prayer, as I said, things depend in prayer on your intention. How intensely you can identify with the words and follow them with your all emotion. But if you just, I cannot identify with prayer in Hebrew because I don't understand, everything in, and if I say it in Hebrew, I catch meaning of some word, but I am far away from being able to follow it emotionally. Here, Moses said really, Hashem became angry with me. Hashem said to me, do not speak to me further about this thing. Don't speak to me further about this matter. You know that Moses was told, you will not enter the Holy Land. And Moses is bugging God. Can you show me, can I enter the Holy Land, and can you show me that? And God tells him, don't speak to me anymore about this matter. Don't speak to me further about this matter. He tells him, just shut up. I told you, you will not enter the land, and that it is. And later, in this parsha, God tells Moses, go up into the mountain and look on the land. Have a look on the land. but you will not enter. So God says to Moses, go up on the mountain. Whenever there is going up on the mountain, it means go to higher levels of your consciousness. Enter your higher level of consciousness and look on the land. Look on the land where Jewish people will go, but you will not go there. And Arizal, again, Rabbi Isaac Luria explained why. He said Moses' soul came from highest possible heaven. And after finishing his task on the earth, he will return to the highest level. Not to just to next spiritual world where Jewish people will go. He will go to much higher place. So he is telling him, look at the land. That's not where you will go. It is not for you. You will go to some much higher. Again, Arizal, here in the explanation, he differs from many other rabbis who say Moses was punished because he did not talk gently to the rock. He hit the rock to get water out of it, etc. But Arizal says, no, Moses does not go to Holy Land, which is world, you remember, which is a higher world over our physical. Our physical world is asiya, work of doing. And first higher world, where Jewish people go, or all people go when they die, is world of Yetzirah. Yetzirah, also called world to come. La'olam haba. Ha-olam haba. World to come. It is called world to come, not because it will come later, no. It was created just at the beginning in creation. It is called world to come because all soul, after body dies, goes into that world. We talked about that before, that Yetzirah has many different levels. And depending on how we live in this physical world, we go to appropriate level. Lowest level is called in Hebrew Gehinom, which is hell in English. So lowest level in Yetzirah is what is called hell. And the highest level of Yetzirah is just a little bit less than upper hell. So little bit less than upper hell. Yes.
Okay, I get a little confused with Charlton Heston. In the movie, you've seen the movie, Ten Commandments.
Ten Commandments, about 20 years ago.
Huh?
60 years ago.
So
Thank you for reminding me.
Moses goes up on the mountain, and they have him age really, really quickly. I mean, he had a full head of brown hair, and then he's got gray hair, and then he's got white hair. And it's that, so are you saying that, is there an intimation that Moses is going to be dying? That he can't go and he can't, he can't sit around the fire and he can't, play with grandchildren and he can't do this and he can't do that in the promised land. That he's actually, is this like the prophecy of his end?
Well, I don't know whether God was really editor of this or director of the movie, okay? I am not sure about that. But even if he was, then this gray hair and shining face, etc., it is usually interpreted that he has so much divine light within him that it radiates away from him, that he had to wear a mask, not because of diseases as we have now, but to protect other people from that radiation from him. So that's interpretation which I read due to some other rabbi. So, as I said, it is not punishment for Moses. It is really kind of reward. I don't say that Moses did not make any mistakes, of course. He made a mistake. But that's a part of fact that he was born in physical body, in this life, right? There is no rabbi ever lived who did not make a sin. So each soul, before, it is incarnated on the earth and has to grow. Before it grows to full blossom, full realization, it very likely commits many transgressions. Whether he was ordinary soul or soul of some high tzaddik, high rabbi, etc.
Is there an implication in this that high spiritual activities, abilities, whatever, can't coexist with normal, mundane living?
Well, so people say that high tzaddik can do everything as a service to God. But it is just said, it may be possible as an idea which people are approaching but never really reach. So I believe that we learn, it is our purpose to learn to live in this world and still live spiritual life in whatever we do. But saying, I don't have to meditate because all my work is meditation. I think it is just excuse. Or saying, I eat only because when I eat, after that I can serve God. I believe you eat because your body tells you you need to eat, you need food, you need energy, etc. And to say that everything what I do is a service to God, I believe it is escaping really your responsibility, covering up, saying I am already perfect, right? Whatever I do is a service to God. I don't do anything which is not service to God. I think this is untrue, and you are probably people who say it, they are fooling themselves. That's my opinion.
All right, so let's get back to the first thing with John asked me. From this model, is Moses going to transubstantiate? Is he going to change his physical being and become a completely spiritual entity? Is that what God was saying to him, that you're no longer a human being?
No, he is not saying that. Not saying that at all. Moses is human being till the end. But human being has to be able to control more and more of his desires as he grows in perfection.
But he's already renunciated.
Other religions are teaching as well. You have to be able to stay away from sex relation, but not forever, for a couple of years, to show that you have control over it. After that, just enjoy it. But you cannot be addicted to something. You see?
But I'm trying to get to how come Moses can't get to the promised land? Why can't he go?
Why what?
Why can't Moses go to the promised land?
Because promised land is not high enough for him. He go to higher level of existence.
Which we can't perceive from the level of the Torah.
We are in Asia, in our world, right? And we are making effort to get to that holy land, to the first spiritual world, to Yetzirah. while Moses belongs automatically above. He belongs to world of Berea. That's where his souls go. So that's why he does not enter the Holy Land. Okay, time is running out, you see. I always start talking and never know when to stop. I still have probably material for next 10 hours, which I would like to tell you. But let me go back to Kabbalah, okay? What is the meaning of Kabbalah? Okay, so word kabel in Hebrew means to receive. Make it here. Okay, this is Kabbalah. Kabbalah, you see it? It's easy to understand. Kabbalah. Kabbalah means to receive. But you know, in English it is spelled with to be, right? Kabbalah. So in the case, in this translation, that Kabbalah, to receive from two sources. From tradition, from the past, and to receive from above. By divine inspiration, by Ruach HaKodesh. Okay? So Kabbalah has to receive from the past. It is tradition of Jewish religion, of Judaism. Of course, Kabbalah has been accepted by Christianity and others as well, but for us it means receiving from tradition. But receiving from tradition does not make you Kabbalist. It makes you maybe student of Kabbalah or teacher of Kabbalah, but not Kabbalist. To be Kabbalist, you have to be able to receive from above. You have to be able, as we read, God says, I am close to you whenever you call on me. Right? God is saying there is connection between you and me. So this connection is open. And I know that many rabbis tries to close it. They said Kabbalah means receive from tradition and nothing else. Okay? So, if you neglect one arrow coming from above, if you neglect Ruach HaKodesh, you just learn Kabbalah from your teacher and you just transmit Kabbalah to the student. You don't do anything new. If you neglect tradition and just rely on Ruach HaKodesh, you may get misled. Because if you don't have tradition, you don't have some envelope, constraint which should keep you. So tradition provides constraint. You are not allowed to speculate yourself and invent some nonsense. You have to invent things which are still within the umbrella of Judaism. So if you neglect one of these arrows, you are making a serious mistake. Kabbalist has to be open to both. And Kabbalist is not some teacher somewhere or whoever. Each of you has opened this channel to God. And Kabbalah Zohar said, each of you can be given understanding of some part of Torah which was never given to anyone before. So your duty is to receive for yourself. Even if you are a student of Kabbalah, your duty is to receive from tradition, to study Zohar, study writers, Kabbalistic writers of the past, and your duty is to open your channel to Ruach HaKodesh. That Ruach HaKodesh is accessible to everyone. I know there are streams in Judaism who say, no, you cannot rely on that, you have just to listen to your rabbi, and do commandments, that's all what you can do in this life. But this degrading spirit of human being. Each human being has innovation within himself, herself, creativity, which has to express during her life. Otherwise, life is not worth it, right? Every human being is given creativity in your work, as well in Torah study, in Kabbalah study, in everything you do. You are asked to apply your creativity, which is just particular to you. To each of us has definite talent, and it is our duty to express them. So our duty is not only to listen teachers of the past, but to apply our creativity to whatever we do. Okay, so I have to basically finish slowly this. Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention. Okay, so here is Asiya, word of Asiya. This is you. Okay, this is you, and let me take different color. And this is your soul. And Asiya is here. Yetzirah is here. So this is Yetzirah. And Bria is here. And this is Asiya. And this is lowest part of your soul in Asiya, which is called Nefesh. Nefesh. In the word of Yetzirah, we have second level of your soul, which is Ruach. And in Beria, third level of Okay, so even if our body is in Yetzirah, our soul penetrates to all these at least three lowest worlds, maybe even Atzilut and higher world, but at least here I did these first three. And Zohar said, when child is born, he is given nefesh. And then Zohar say, if he is worthy, when he reach age of 13 years about, he is given ruach. And when he reach the age of 20, if he is worthy, he is given neshama. So Zohar here says that various pieces of your soul are given to you at different times. Now, I don't believe that this is correct. Okay? Alternative view is when you are born, you get all your soul, which extend all three lower worlds. But your consciousness, your own consciousness, which is that which your mind is able to comprehend. Mind is property of your brain. So your consciousness, when you are born, is only concentrated in this world, not higher. And as you grow, your consciousness expands. That's what we call go. You have to go to higher level of consciousness, right? To higher level. It means that your mind, your waking awareness is expanding now to world of Yetzirah, at least sometime, at least during meditation and during moments where you are uplifted above the cloud. And then when you are 20 years old, when you grow spiritually, your personal consciousness is expanded, that it contains even nefesh, the higher level of soul. So I myself believe that the description of Zohar is basically symbolic. It says you will get only nefesh, then you will get ruach, then you will get neshama, which would make too much work for God, right? To give you 3 times your soul in 3 installments. I believe it is much more economical, give you 1 soul, basically when you are born, and then as your awareness expands, you include originally only nefesh, but later nefesh and ruach, and later nefesh, ruach, and neshama. Yes?
Is it a possible interpretation that the nefesh is like physical awareness and ruach is knowledge and neshama is wisdom?
Well, it may be one of interpretation. There are many interpretations that say nefesh is not only physical awareness, it includes all these processes which we are unaware of, right? Your lungs are working, your kidney are working. You don't have to think, now I will proceed with my kidney to clean my blood. It goes everything automatically. Each cell of your body is governed by nefesh, even if you are not aware of it. But yes, then ruach, some people say ruach is mostly emotional, and neshama comes where wisdom comes, etc. But as I emphasized, I believe last week, everything like that is just a model, right? And I said all models are wrong, but some are useful, right?
So it's like the Torah with the garment and the body and the soul.
That's correct. That's correct. And one more question here, one more. What happened when Messianic age arrived? Some rabbi expect, that all religion which recognize Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh as a God, and they will admit to Jews, you were right, we were wrong, etc. So that our religion will be recognized as the only true religion, etc. Of course, Christians expect similarly, right? The Messianic age is second coming of Jesus, so that Christianity will be recognized as only true religion, etc. So, when Messianic age comes, I believe we will all recognize that spiritual essence of all religion is the same. It is like climbing on the roof of some house, and we have ladders from different sides, and each ladder is different color. One is painted red, another green and blue, etc. And people are arguing, you can get to roof only if you come to us and use our ladder up, right? And what happens if we are almost on the roof? our heads are now above the roof and we see all these other people, what we will tell them? You have a wrong ladder, you go climb down and come on our ladder, right? Or we tell them, welcome, hello, we made it, you made it, we made it, let us be happy together. So I here go with Rabbi Sachs, who said no religion has monopoly on wisdom. God talked to Jews through Torah, to Christians through New Testament, to Muslims through Quran, and I would add to Hindus through Vedas and Bhagavad Gita, to Buddhists through teaching of Buddha, etc. It really does not matter which ladder you use. It happens how you move them. Are you moving up on the ladder, or you are standing down and screaming, come to us, our ladder is the best one. Okay, something else I wanted to tell you. What you should do, okay, since it is last lesson, please. Oh, I had one meditation which I wanted to tell you, but it is too late now. No?
Not too late.
It's not too late?
No, that was.
Okay. So I will take probably 5 minutes on one more meditation. What I wanted to say, it is important to do meditation. I tune it down. I said 2 minutes, 5 minutes a day, at least something, but at least something each day. Okay, so you should do meditation. And other things which I emphasized very much last summer, not this summer, it is called salicha, which means to forgive each day to all those people who committed transgression against you, who sins against you. It is extremely important to forgive them immediately. God give you power to forgive sins for others, of others. And we use it very rarely. We keep grudges. We remember he did this and this to me. No, you have to forgive everything, regardless how much you were harmed. Each day forgive. So these are, I believe, two most important things, to meditate and forgive completely each day to everybody. Now, okay, you finish your writing, you sit quietly and you close your eyes. And you put your consciousness into big toe of your right foot. Concentrate on that. Put your consciousness in your right foot, right toe, big toe. Now shift your consciousness to the next toe, to the middle toe, to next one, and to the small toe. And now move your consciousness through the sole of your foot towards your heel. And move your consciousness within your leg to your ankle and slowly to your knee, through your thighs to the bone, pelvic bone. Switch your consciousness to the big toe on left foot, to the next toe, to the middle toe, to the next toe, and to little toe. Move your consciousness on the sole of your foot towards your heel. and slowly up the leg to your ankle, up to your knee, and up to your pelvic bone, and to the middle to your spine. And now slowly up the spine, behind your stomach, up behind your lungs and your heart, up to your neck. Move your consciousness to the thumb of your right hand, to your index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and small finger. Move your consciousness through the palm of your hand to your wrist, to your elbow, and up to your shoulder. To the middle of your neck, to the left shoulder, and to the thumb of your left hand, index finger of left hand, middle finger, ring finger, small finger. Through the palm of your hand to your wrist, to your elbow, and to your shoulder. Back to your neck, and back to your neck up, back side of your skull, to top of your head. Now feel column of love, column of light from above entering top of your head and slowly spreading down through all your body, to your arms, to your hands, through your spine, to pelvic bone, through thighs, to your legs, to your knees, to the ankles, to your feet. And then again, this flow of energy, like white light or gold light, back through your whole body, to your spine, to your head, to your head. And this you can practice again for a few minutes yourself, for 2 to 5 minutes each day. And it will make something within you alive. Something which you feel is more you than your body only. But it has to be awakened. And to awaken this, you need to reproduce this feeling coming up to your body and down from daily practice. So you have 3 meditations, you remember. Visualizing Yud, He, Vav, He. You have going up the spine from Adonai, El Shaddai, Yahweh, Elohim, Ehyeh, and you have this one, the 3 different meditations. You can pick up whichever you want and stick with that for a month or longer. Rabbi recommend 40 days, one meditation, and then think, let's switch to other. Okay, I thank you all for coming, and have a beautiful year, and remember God, remember your soul, and remember everybody else. You want to become a love. Not that you love individual person. You want to become love. That there is nothing you can hate in this world. You have to love all people, all animals, all plants, all rock, everything. Okay, thank you. Amen.